Hello and welcome back to Bad Comic Review. Today we are looking at Icon Issue 1, first issue collector's item. Now this originally retailed for $2.95, came out in 1993, and it came polybagged with some items. It came with a poster, a backing board, a trading card, and one 4-part set of a 16-piece mural. So if you got all the first issues polybagged, you would get this 16-part panel that would create a giant image of all the Milestone characters. Now if you listen to our Milestone overview, you know a little bit about why the company was found, and it's predominantly African-American superheroes. So this issue starts out with just the words 1839, and that's all you're going to see for the first 4 pages. Otherwise it's silent, and it's really cool. It's a really cool opening of an alien ship under attack, and this one alien escapes into a life pod and crash lands on Earth, where a slave woman finds him, and as soon as she touches the ship, he takes the form of a small black child instead of his natural blue weird alien form. So I don't remember a whole lot about this series, but I remember being told that by several fans that don't read it, it's for black kids, and several black fans have told me no, you shouldn't read that, it's not for you. And I'd only read a few issues of the Milestone books, but I did like a lot of what was going on in them, but I don't really remember them because I only had a few. And it didn't really, seem anything too interesting to me because some of the characters seemed kind of like generic knockoffs. Like, I had read Hardware and it reminded me of Iron Man. But I thought, well, I'll give it a shot since I'm doing these reviews, and I've got a huge collection of Milestone now from this collection I purchased. But yeah, this one actually was a pretty good issue. It starts out with that crash landing thing, and then it jumps to 1993 in the old downtown district of the city of Dakota, which is a fictional city where everything takes place. And we're introduced to Augustus, who is apparently a lawyer of some kind, probably a public defender. I'm not real clear on what he does. He's an officer of the court of some kind. So he's looking at some shackles, reminiscing on what happened in the previous scene. And then it cuts over to this young lady in a housing project on Paris Island, talking about how she wanted to be a writer, but she never had any life experience because she was only like 15. Well, she hooks up with some of her friends, and they go out to this big, sprawling mansion, which looks like a southern plantation house. A little irony there from a former slave owning one of those. And they go in to rob the place and steal some stuff because, the rich people won't miss some of their money. So she's looking around and she sees all his books in this study and the computer, and she's kind of envious of the knowledge that he must have. Well, they're interrupted by Augustus, who walks in on the burglary. They shoot him a couple times, and it doesn't kill him. Then he chases him out, and there's a really cool picture on page 17 which shows him flying for the first time in his robe, and it's got this green, it looks like a cloak because it's just his robe. But it was pretty cool, and he catches all of them and says, I'm going to let you go, but you got to return everything. And they're, bad-mouthing him and whatnot. But the girl's convinced. She didn't really want to be in on the whole thing anyway. But she can't let it go, and she goes to his office and shows him a sketch of Icon and Rocket. And she's wearing the costume of Rocket. And he's like, I don't know about that. And then she leaves, and a few days later, he sends her a package with the costume in it and some kind of strange belt that will give her like an invulnerability sort of a power. He tells her to meet her in 3 weeks at the bridge, and they go out there, and the bridge has obviously been trashed. They're in their costumes, and they're going to go help the cops downtown, and it's at page 25, we first see them both in costume together. It's a really cool one-page spread that would make a really cool poster if they took the dialogue boxes out. And they land to help the police, and the cops point their guns at them. It was actually a really good intro story. I liked it a lot. That's where it ends, obviously. Cliffhanger ending, of course, which we'll look at in issue 2. But yeah, I liked the issue. I thought it was good. There are a few things that stand out, really, is that Augustus actually comes off as being fairly conservative in this. He seems a little hesitant to use his abilities. They do quote Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, which, if you're not familiar, are prominent black writers. Yeah, they drop the N-bomb near the end. The girl, who's also black, she uses the N-word And he says, watch your language and don't assume everything's racial. Well, from my experience with some of these books, there are some anti-white messages in them. But overall, this was a great issue about acceptance and accepting who you are and not assuming that people have ill intentions. So yeah, it was a good book. I'm interested to read book 2. This is way better than I remembered any of these being. Dwayne McDuffie's always been a good writer, though. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. We'll review issue 2 probably on Thursday, so be sure and check for that. In the meantime, that'll do it for this one. It was a fun book. I recommend picking it up, checking it out. There's an interesting coloring technique that wasn't used a whole lot back then that gives it sort of this like heavy pencil look. And if it had been on nicer paper than just newsprint, it probably would have looked really awesome. But yeah, it's the cover's pretty cool too. It's definitely got like a powerful imagery to it. So I highly recommend checking this one out and see what you think. And we'll see how the other issues play out. It only lasted for about 42 issues, which kind of surprises me because so far it's off to a pretty strong start. So in the meantime, that'll do it for this episode. As always, thanks for watching and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode.